Good morning, Internet, and welcome to another episode of Caffeine with Speed. I'm Sean Hinz, but you can call me Speed. Whew. Made it after the first week back from the holiday season. The weekend is just around the corner. Thank God, guys. I'm so ready to take a break. Now, because it is the first week of January, news was pretty soft, but I suppose that's to be expected for the new year. Still, would have hoped for something a little more exciting than what we got to talk about today. In my case, PSN still sucks because on Tuesday, a bunch of us were running the raid, and Crota basically has a time chest in it, and you can swap your characters out. Mid-swap of one of my characters trying to get that chest, the PSN network went down, thanks to a DDoS attack from some stupid fucking hackers. But enough of my guff. Let's talk about some actual news in the video game industry right now. So, Riot is done dealing with all of their ISP server bullshit that goes with, running a massively multiplayer game. They let their users know via the forums that they should expect a dedicated network to be designed specifically for League of Legends, and it will be coming sometime soonish. Like, they didn't give an exact timetable. The idea behind this is that it will improve connection speeds and increase general stability for all the different players when they're on League, specifically in North America, Canada, and then Europe. And the main reason seems to be a lot of Americans, especially those on the Eastern Seaboard, have had just a ton of issues and complained of lag and other problems throughout, the past few years. So it's not because of hackers. It's just that the League, developer wants to just nip all those problems in the butt, and the best way to do that is design the network and work with the ISPs to make sure they got the strongest League of Legends network they can possibly have. I guess the big difference is that ISPs weren't really designing their networks with massive multiplayer games in mind, so they bundle things up and ship them and bounce you around servers. And in the case of League, you're talking about milliseconds, of actions per minute and stuff like that. So shit ain't right. But the hardware should be ready by March, and then the real tricky part comes through contracting with all the different service providers and making sure everybody's on the same page, which means the timetable's pretty fuzzy because there's a lot of parties involved. But hey, it's good news for Americans, great news for Europeans too. And if you really want to take this whole esports thing seriously, you should just move to South Korea, because not only would the people there treat you like a god, but you also get gigabit internet just by living in an apartment. It's like that crappy sample box of Tide that everybody used to get in the mail, but you probably don't know what I'm talking about because I'm old. Anyways, to get back to the heart of the matter, gaming online is obviously, something we love to do. And, back in an older episode of Hard News, we discussed how the Internet Archive brought arcade games to your browser, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of arcade games. You could just log into the Internet Archive, go to their arcade game section, and they're emulated through your browser, and you can play them anytime you want for free. $0, that ranges from Robotron to Outrun to Street Fighter 2. And it was awesome. It was like the gaming gods had blessed your browser with unlimited arcade games, and it seems like their cup floweth over, because now the Internet Archive is jumping into they're calling it the living room home console generation of games. And this is really early console stuff. So we're talking Channel F, the Atari 2600, ColecoVision, and it does go up through a lot of Sega's library, all the way to the Genesis. And there's tons of different consoles, and there's nearly 3,000 titles that you can play. The collection is outstanding. There's everything from Strider to Sonic and Aladdin to The Lion King and even Clay Fighter. And those are obviously more Master System Genesis games, but 2600 has got some great games too. I blew off an entire afternoon just trying to play Mortal Kombat with my keyboard. So thanks Internet Archive, and thanks Freedom. So I think one thing that's funny is where Sega's obviously somehow given these guys their blessing to let us play tons of their classic games for free in a browser, Nintendo's kind of doing the opposite by trying to cash in on their, Mario license just hard and fast. So, Puzzle and Dragons Super Mario Brothers Edition was announced by Gung Ho Entertainment yesterday. And it's going to be coming out for 3DS in Japan. And if you at all like the idea of a match 3 RPG in the Mario universe, well, get on the hype train, man, because I'm actually stoked about this idea. I'm sure there are some fans out there that are definitely going to feel pissed off by this, but you got to realize two things right now about Nintendo. Like, one, the game in question is a Japanese-only release, so that's specifically targeted at a market that obviously loves Puzzle and Dragons and what Gung Ho does. But also, everyone loves Match 3 games. Seriously, like, every property makes a Match 3 version of something these days. And according to Gung Ho, the original game sold 6 million units in America, 41 million units worldwide, and in April of 2013, they were raking in a whopping $3.76 million per day. And that's like off microtransactions, because this thing was free on mobile devices. So there's no real word on a Western release of Puzzles and Dragons Super Mario Edition, but in Japan it's going to launch on April 29th, and it's going to cost $34, which is pretty pricey for a free-to-play game. But I bet Nintendo can hardly wait for this big payday post all the Amiibo cash they've been getting in. And because of its popularity, I wouldn't doubt that it'll come across Pacific pretty soon. So I guess that's the big Mario game of 2015? I don't know. We'll wait and see. So our comment of the day comes from the Septile, who asks, where did the name Speed come from? Besides the obvious Speed Racer, also, where's your Mach 5? Well, okay, so this is kind of a multi-tiered story thing, but basically so Speed Racer was a nickname from college. A buddy of mine would frequently call me that after having a couple drinks because when I was in undergrad, I had like spiky anime hair and used to drive this slam tricked out 96 Eclipse, and it was red, so that got associated with Speed Racer, right? And then the UNT actually stands for University of North Texas, which is my alma mater, the same place I got my nickname Speed Racer. And since Speed Racer UNT is basically my username on every gaming service under the sun, it just kind of seemed only right that my YouTube channel be the same name, because that way you can find me on the internet. Plus, a lot of my Let's Plays will be under that same name. So, I mean, if you ever want to play a game with me on PSN, Xbox, Steam, or the Nintendo Network, you just look for Speed Racer UNT. I've managed to monopolize that username across all platforms. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the improved mic quality today, and if you did, how about you give me a thumbs up or leave a comment for next week? And obviously I would love it so very much if you shared on social media. Thanks again for watching. I'm Speed, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday.